Hi, welcome. This is CaddyInfo.com Cadillac Chat. We do these on Thursday nights when we get together and talk about all things Cadillac. Tonight I have with me Air Mike from the forums.
Hola.
Hola, his famous sign online. That's how you know Air Mike's on the show. And Air Mike, of course, among his several cars, has an XLRV, always black, always black. Vinny's on with us from CadillacCountryClub.com and 29 other online locations.
Good evening. I need a sign online now. I was going to say double Olaf.
Yeah. No, your sign online always needs to be, where are you? Where is Vinny?
Well, maybe I'll just give the old New York, what's up?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Well, when you're in New York, give us a New York greeting, and when you're in Arizona, give us an Arizona greeting.
There's no accent here.
How's that?
Everybody's from somewhere else.
Oh, everybody in Arizona is from somewhere else?
Yeah.
Or is that a New York joke?
No, that's pretty much Arizona. Nobody's really born here. Everybody like comes from a different place and ends up here. That's what everybody.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now I do want to note there were two actual Cadillac newsy kind of things. One was the in the United States, the XT5 so far is only coming with the 3.6 liter. Cadillac had tried different engines in the SRX and ended up not enjoying any of them except the 3.6 liter multi-fuel engine for 304 horsepower in the XTS. And so I apologize, in the SRX. So in the XT5, they brought only the 3.6 liter to start, but in China, they have released it with the 2-liter turbo. So the 4-cylinder 2-liter turbo, which has done quite well here, and it actually, if you look at the torque, it does better up to about 4,000 RPM than the V6 does, because it makes a lot more torque down low compared with the V6. So I think that will actually be, and now I know Cadillac would say, oh my God, we already went this way, because the SRX came with a 2.8 liter turbo for a while, right? Where they were trying to tell that story about, hey, we're giving you the torque you need, buy this engine, and all the magazines said, oh my God, it feels so heavy and it doesn't have enough power. So going to a smaller turbo is not going to help those facets. But I think there still is a tax issue in China, which makes, and in Europe certainly, which makes a 2-liter engine an advantage in jurisdictions in which the tax on the car depends on the displacement of the engine. Now
Your headphone cut out. We can't hear you.
Can't hear Bruce.
Nope, can't hear Bruce. When he closed the door, his thing went off. Well, while he's playing with that, let me throw this out there for the Cadillac 2.0 in China. Maybe it has to do with emissions, because I know they got the huge smog problem over there. Maybe that 2.0 to 3.6 might be the factor.
China's having emissions, their government's on that?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they got like, I see him. You probably hit the mute button on the cord.
Yeah, out or something. I use a Wi-Fi headset, and unfortunately, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're fine.
And unfortunately, it has a wire that you can plug in for when it's not charged up, but that depends on a base, and I've managed to kick that base so many times. What I need to do is just get a new one every year and throw away, plan to tear up this one once a year or so, because I managed to tear it up once a year or so. So have you guys actually driven the 2-liter turbo?
I haven't.
Not.
So my wife's car is the ATS with the 2-liter turbo, and we have thoroughly enjoyed it. That now she still doesn't think it's hot rod enough, and I keep telling her if she would put her foot down, it would be plenty hot rod enough for her. But now the only thing I think that one's missing is The ATS came with the 6-speed, and I wish they'd gone ahead and put the 8-speed transmission in it. And so maybe in the next version, the ATS, like the ATS-V, has the 8-speed transmission. And so hopefully the regular ATS will get the 8-speed as well. But I think the 2-liter turbo is actually, I've been excited about those engines ever since the Kappa cars had the 2-liter turbos in them. So I think
your wife drives like my wife. She just wants to push the gas pedal a third or half of the way, and it should have all its power by then.
Yep. Like a good Cadillac driver. A lot of Cadillacs are actually set up that way, right? Where you get half the power if you press the pedal 10%, and then the other half is the other 90% of the travel. It's not linear at all. And I think the ATS-V, when you switch from sport setting to track setting, it has that impact on the gas pedal as well. The gas pedal becomes much more linear, which actually makes the car seem less peppy.
I think
really?
Yeah.
I remember when it was on display at the New York Auto Show a couple of years ago. They explained that to me exactly the way you just said
it. Because in track mode, you get to use the whole pedal, but now you got to put your foot down. If you want 80% power, you have to push the pedal down 80%. Whereas in sport mode, if you push the pedal down 30%, you get 70% or 80% throttle.
But 100%, still 100%.
Yeah, but if you go on and put your foot down, the car will go, right? And so the track mode actually gives you much more sensitive control over the acceleration. But to the driver that's not thinking about that, then it seems less peppy because you really got to put your foot in it to get it to go.
Huh.
Not like a Cadillac where you just touch the accelerator and it I like the old classic Cadillacs where if you take your foot off the brake, the car creeps forward, right?
Yeah, you're up to 5 miles an hour.
Yeah, it'll go uphill at idle because of the torque.
So some of the old timers, when we go to parades and stuff, they constantly like, oh yeah, I'm on the brake, my brake. Because as soon as they let off the gas, and they're only going 2 miles an hour, so it's kind of funny.
They just need looser converters in them, right?
Yeah.
Now the other kind of Cadillac news is Ward's included in for their top 10 best interiors for 2016. Ward's Automotive included the XT5 in their list, so that's good news.
For a Cadillac to be included in that's a massive improvement, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's very good news, and we need the XT5 to be successful because the SRX was generally half of Cadillac sales. And so the XT5, they need to be selling them some XT5s as the XT5 comes out, because that's what's paying for all the rest of the things that we enjoy. And there's high irony here because when Cadillac first brought over the SRX, and the SRX is kind of a cousin car, is kind of a corporate car. When they first brought over the SRX, it was a gap filler until they could get their own custom crossover SUV in place, which they still haven't. So it wasn't, they did a lot of Cadillac things to it. They made it, and it's a wonderful vehicle. I was very surprised when I test drove one how much I enjoyed it. But the SRX, was probably the least, the least or the second least original Cadillac design, right? The least would be the XTS, which is a Buick LaCrosse with Cadillac features, but the SRX very, very close to that as well. That it has a very distinctive Cadillac exterior look to it, but a very corporate chassis and powertrain setup. But made a good Cadillac. But it's funny to me that Cadillac has done. It's ironic that Cadillac has done so many amazing custom chassis with bespoke engines, and their big seller is not that. Their big seller is what they were trying to move away from, which is let's just use the corporate, let's use a corporate platform with a corporate engine and see how that sells.
So that's what they got.
And that's sold the best.
And
But it's kind of like when we laughed at Lexus because they had suddenly become a truck company instead of a car company because their crossover and SUV sales went up so far.
it was funny standing at the New York Auto Show. I was standing in front of the Jaguar event when they had a big unveiling of their SUV that's coming out. I look over and I look at Porsche, the Porsche thing, and they have SUVs electric. And I'm
Yes.
saying to myself, that is so not what you think of when you think of Porsche. You know?
Yes. And it still weighs, their gas one weighs 5,000 or 5,500 pounds. And so the electric one's going to add 800 pounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
How's that going to make good sense, right? It doesn't help the environment. It's not going to get better, yeah, so I'm fascinated. I have been fascinated altogether with the Porsche SUVs, though, and how well they've sold. The BMW SUVs and how well they've sold. The Cadillac SUV has, the crossover, the SRX has sold well. And where are the other three that we should have had 3 years ago?
Over 3 years ago, I think, right?
So, and you never can tell because it looked like gas was going to go up and then crossovers and trucks would go down, right? And so they were bringing the strong sedans, and they've been a sine wave of gas goes up, Cadillac starts planting more sedans, gas goes down, and crossovers sell well. Gas goes up.
Right. Now we're stuck at the high.
When gas goes back up, we'll be bringing the crossovers back to market.
It's crazy.
and a bigger Escalade. So now, well, gas is cheap. We don't have a bigger Escalade in the showroom. Right. But when gas is expensive again, then we'll have the supersize Escalade for $150,000 or $250,000.
I was standing next to somebody. He was from, I want to say England, somewhere in Europe, and we were standing next to the new Escalade that they had at the auto show. And of course, it was the big version, the extra.
Yes.
He was looking at it. He's like, "I'm dumbfounded how people drive this around town." He says it's like moving a house as compared to what they're used to driving in Europe.
But did he drive it?
No, he couldn't.
All you have to do to understand the Escalade is drive it.
Drive one.
Because once you get in it, it's not just the sitting. I totally got the Escalade after, and I had the extended version one, the extended size one, and we took it down to the Renaissance Fair for the review. But once you get in the Escalade, I totally get that vehicle, and I could actually see using that as a commuter car. In the right circumstances, if I didn't want a race car, and if I didn't, if there weren't those things I was looking for, I could totally see the Escalade, and it makes a nice highway car, which you wouldn't think, right?
Right. I guess. Well, once you get all the weight moving, I guess it helps.
Oh no, it doesn't have trouble moving along because it's got enough power and enough torque that it's 400 horsepower. And so the Escalade's, the 0 to 60 time and so on is very competitive with the V6 muscle cars. It's a good mover, and so that's what I would say to anybody who asks, I don't understand the Escalade, is, well, go drive one, because then if you don't get it, then you don't get cars.
Well, I think he was like Vespa motor scooters and stuff that they use in Europe,
Yeah, I understand if you're doing a narrow lane and you want a small car where it's easier to navigate the narrow lane, and certainly if I were living in Europe, I might want my ATS-V instead of an Escalade, but the Escalade certainly has its place. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, that's what I was. My question was about the roads in Europe. When you get off the major highways, then you have small roads, right? And the Escalade would be inconvenient.
Yeah, and even here, I think you have to plan ahead for where you're going to park. Because they have a good turn radius, but it's a bigger car, right? I mean, it's a long wheelbase vehicle, and so you're going to have to swing in and so on. But even all that said, I totally could get why people drive Escalades. That it's the road isolation, the luxury, it's big, but it doesn't feel heavy. It accelerates well. It's a nice road car. And so now the other thing I would find daunting, of course, is it starts at $72,000.
Right.
I think that was part of his thing too. He was like, "Yeah, I can get a house, and this is the size of a house."
Now, I want to hear what countries in Europe you can buy a house for $72,000, because I have heard the opposite of that. Is you can't buy a house and you can't rent one for $72,000. But yeah, I would challenge that assumption, because if he wants a house for $72,000, I don't even think you can find that here in Texas, or you have to go live in a house you wouldn't want to live in. So, but the one that I found really tempting did not sell well, which was the Escalade Hybrid. The Escalade Hybrid had a little less power, but it had a hybrid system, and it was the light hybrid system, but it could actually run on electric only power if you kept it under 35 miles an hour or something.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times on display.
After that, the engine would kick in. But I always wanted that challenge to see if I could take an Escalade Hybrid and make my 7-mile commute only on battery power.
You wanted to give it a try, huh?
I wanted that challenge, but unfortunately, they didn't sell enough of them, and it was even more expensive than a regular Escalade. But yeah, if I had Mike's 7-car garage, that would be one of my cars. Is I would want an Escalade Hybrid.
Well, Mike probably won't have one, although I like them Escalades. I haven't owned one or actually driven one. I've just rode in them.
Yeah. I think that is a good car. Now, what kind of features would you want to see in a $250,000 Escalade?
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never given that a thought.
So I guess one thing would be a totally bespoke custom leather interior, right? So are we going to see caribou leather or ostrich quill? When people do more expensive Escalades, that's the sort of thing they do, is like an ostrich quill leather interior or alligator leather interior.
That would be the last thing that I would want.
But that's what people do. Is
you get in your car out here in Phoenix at a 100-degree day, and you go sit on a leather seat, you're going to go through the sunroof. So.
Well, they're all leather seats. You can't not get a leather seat in an Escalade. The only choice is, do you want full leather seating or only leather seating surfaces, right?
Yeah.
But that's in the pedestrian $75,000 Escalade. What features do you expect to see in the $250,000 Escalade?
24-hour, 7-day-a-week driver.
It comes with a beautiful driver who was previously a cheerleader.
Right, maybe a house on each coast, so you can drive back and forth.
Now, it possibly would come with 24/7 customer service, right? So that if you have any issue with the car whatsoever, I guess you get that everywhere with OnStar.
Yeah, everywhere with OnStar, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I was trying to think, what's the higher level of customer service? I always like when we talked about Rolls-Royce or Bentley, where if you had a problem with the car, technicians came to your estate to work on it, right? But part of the reason they did that was they didn't have a Bentley dealer on the corner.
And what happens if
Bentley dealers?
Estate?
What?
And what happens when you don't have an estate?
Yes. Well, they'd have to come to your 7-car paradise garage.
You have to sell the estate to buy the Escalade.
Well, there
Yeah,
you go.
possibly.
Right.
Actually, I think if you have to sell the estate, you're not in the market for the Escalade, right?
Exactly.
See, I'm kind of the opinion that somebody that wants something like that doesn't want the same thing their neighbor has.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. They very much want it bespoke. So are we talking about custom coachworks? Well, back in the heyday, Cadillac would offer 18 different bodies for a given chassis, right? So will you go when you go in to specify your $250,000 Escalade? Is that part of it that you'll choose? What do you want? Which of these hoods do you want? Which of these fender designs do you want? Which of these cab designs? Which of these do you want it truck bed? Do you want an SUV? Do you want 2 seats? Do you want 3 seats? It'll be a complete custom Coachworks.
That's what I think it'll end up being. Yeah.
That sort of thing makes it closer to worth $250,000 to me. Is as Mike said, I want my Escalade to be the only one like that.
Yeah, it seems to me like, say, a professional athlete or somebody, they're buying one of them things and then having it customized, not because, well, maybe partly because of all this whatever luxury, but a lot of it's because they want theirs to be unique.
Right, and they have unique needs. If you're 7'5", then
Yeah,
the seat has to be designed for someone who's 7'5", whether you're going to be driven or drive.
I saw her on one of those custom shows. I don't know if it's Donnie Wahlberg or Mark Wahlberg, one of the actors. He took an Escalade and took it apart, and and they customized it and all that stuff. And he ended up putting a 50-inch TV screen to separate the driver. But now you're talking to
Yes.
in places he could sleep and rest, and VCRs and DVRs and.
But that's very much. I think what they'll need is custom Coachworks where you're picking from different body styles and custom interiors, right?
Yeah.
Where you'll be picking what's important to you from a menu of options. I want one big screen, or I want 4 small screens, or I want individual entertainment at all 7 seats for the kids. I want a MacBook at every station. I want an iPad at every station.
That's what I would want.
Yeah. Yeah, so that Vinny can do his video editing on the road in his Escalade. Now, what would you name it that was still built on the Escalade brand?
I don't know. You can't
This
use
custom bespoke $250,000 Escalade. What would you call it?
titanium version.
Yeah, we've already got the platinum version, so
You already got platinum, you gotta go
titanium.
higher. Right.
I always want to go back to the old Cadillac names, but like they had the Madam X was one of the truly custom cars on a custom chassis and so on. I always like the 60 Special name, though. I'd like to see Cadillac go back to the 60 Special name, and it was all done in script where it was spelled out 60 Special.
Yep.
So the $250,000 Escalade would be the Escalade 60 Special. Or maybe just a special, right? An Escalade special.
I'm thinking they have that already. Well, they've used it.
Overused, huh?
Yeah.
So,
Titanium Titanic Edition.
well, would you just call it an Escalade XT8? I'm hoping not, but
No, because anybody
knowing their naming convention, that would be attractive to them, right?
How about they name it after the last name of the customer? At this point, since you're doing all the custom work.
Ah, see, that's
Yes,
thinking the right way. So it would be the Escalade Air Mike, and you'd get custom badges to go with it, right?
You can name it whatever you want.
See, I like that.
The Chevy Escalade Nova.
Yeah, and you get a personal point of contact from the factory.
they'd probably surely have some kind of limit on what you can name them.
Yeah.
Well, I guess. What I would do is I wouldn't have a limit on what you could name them. It's just how much your name, how bad a taste your name was makes it more expensive.
Yeah, but I mean,
If you want to name it that, then it's a $10,000 charge. If you want to go with one of these names, it's only
you're not going to get a name of a Shelby Cobra. That's what I meant. They're going to have to come up with some sort of limiting You can't have I have a Shelby Cobra Escalade. Something.
Yeah. You want to trademark.
Ford. Yeah.
Yeah, so you might have to have a given condition, right? That it's an Escalade blank edition, and so it's an Escalade Vinny edition or an Escalade Air Mike edition.
I don't think we're going to have to worry about that one.
Maybe they could hear this conversation and say, Air Mike had the best idea. We're going to make sure he gets the first $250,000 Escalade off the line.
Well, I'm betting against it.
Who knows? They could be listening to this, and we could change the whole CT naming process. Every Cadillac might be the Air Mike edition from this point forward.
Yeah. There you go.
You know, the Easter Bunny might come hopping in here too.
So I think custom coach work, custom interior, even a custom naming convention based on the customer's choice of names, that certainly makes good sense to me.
You know what just popped into my head? How about when they were naming the Fleetwood Brom? Could we make it the Escalade Fleetwood edition? Because they've done that too.
Yeah, see, I think that would be a good use of a Cadillac name, right? That calling back to the Fleetwood factory and custom coach works. And so the same thing with the Fisher body, or even the Escalade Brougham. But I think they're more likely to build in that XT nomenclature. So an Escalade XT8 or an Escalade XT9, even though it's confusing.
Well, how about throwing the Art and Science name in there and doing, something like that? Let's call it a Challenger or Columbia or something like that. And
after space shuttles, huh? Challenger's already taken, I think.
Yeah.
For automotive use. But what about naming it by the price?
There you go.
This is the Escalade 250 because it cost $250,000.
And this way your neighbor knows exactly what you paid for your car and he wants to go out and buy one.
Has a dollar sign on it.
Yep.
Has the who is the character that always left the price tag on their hat so their family would know how much they paid for it? Mini Pearl.
Mini Pearl.
The Mini Pearl attracted.
You got a Cadillac Escalade Mini Pearl edition.
So are there what electronic features would you want in a $250,000 car?
Well, the TV divider, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shuffler divider.
Is there any way to make a clearer air filtration system, maybe? Pure oxygen. Pump pure oxygen.
Yeah, that would play well in China, right?
Yeah.
They have quite a bit of problem with their atmosphere because of the environmental pollution. And so if you had even more air filtration so that the cars, I still like the idea that cars should have some filtering system built into the radiator, so as you drive the car along, it actually filters CO2 out of the atmosphere.
Not a bad idea.
They were talking about this for a while, where they could add a honeycomb system, take advantage of the fact that you've got airflow across the car all the time, and then have the cars basically scavenge CO2 and contaminants out of the atmosphere. So the car might actually be net negative in terms of emissions. Remove more emissions from the atmosphere than it actually emits.
Yeah, we were having this discussion a while back, weren't we? Along them lines.
And I still want that. I'd be willing to pay extra for that. And feel better that the faster I went, the more stuff I was taking out of the atmosphere.
I think if you do that, surely they're going to have to let the speed limit go up or give you rewards rather than tickets for going fast.
Surely.
I vote that.
They would have to let the speed limits go up beyond 85.
Maybe they should have did that in the front grille of the ELR and so let as a feature that you're cleaning up the atmosphere.
Yes, I think that would fit very well with the ELR. Now, battery electric vehicles, the Tesla Model 3 has over 350,000 reservations for it. We don't know when it's going to start manufacture or how many they'll be able to manufacture, but But it's a battery electric vehicle, no range extender, just battery. Here you go, like the upcoming Chevy Bolt. Now, is that attractive to you guys for a car? Do you have a situation in which you could enjoy a battery electric vehicle?
I think I can get it.
I could if the range is good.
So if it had a 200-mile range or a 300-mile range?
Got to be 300.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it'd have to have 300.
Now, what's the New York to Phoenix trip?
2663.
2663. But you stop overnight?
Yeah, I stopped overnight, which would be a problem because I'd have to find a hotel that has the plugs.
Well, but hotels will.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll have cots at the supercharge station.
6 nights going there, so.
You spent 6 nights going 2,600 miles?
Yeah.
Well, why? That should have been a 2-day trip.
He kept finding hotels with hot tubs.
You weren't traveling alone. That was the problem.
Yeah, what happened was she had banged her leg the day before, so she couldn't sit down for so long.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big believer, especially as I get some years on me, about stopping every 2 hours regardless and get out and stretch your legs and don't die of a blood clot. Get out and move around. Okay, but that said, so you spent 6 nights, so you needed to go 500 miles a day.
Yeah, pretty much, a little bit under.
Yeah, so if you had charge at the hotel in a car with a 500 or 600 mile range, you would have been okay.
Would have been okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's another thing. Why don't they put some sort of solar charger, trickle charger in these cars? Is there a reason, conversion-wise, or?
I think the main reason is it wouldn't help enough to offset the cost. The solar panels on the car wouldn't charge the car enough to make up for the fact that you had solar panels on the car.
I'm just thinking when you stop at a restaurant or whatever, you'd be able to charge while not running.
Well, I absolutely now that's the other question, of course, is how long does it take to charge to 80%?
Right.
So what Tesla's hoping to get to is 30 minutes to charge to 80%. So that if you stopped at a supercharge station with a restaurant nearby, you'd be able to pull in, go have dinner, and your car would be back to 80%. So if we can get that type of approach, go ahead, Mike.
Just how large would it have to be to have a solar charging system on it? I don't have any idea how large of a system they would have to do that.
It always gets me when I'm driving behind a Toyota Prius. How that whole back window. I hate driving behind Priuses because you can't see into the car, because of the wing and the big back window that's tinted. That should totally be a solar panel.
Yes. Here's the problem, though, guys. If you think about the solar panel needed to run the car would be 10 or 12 times the size of the car.
That's what I'm talking about. How big does it have
now
to be?
any amount of solar panel is additive, right? Which is I think the point is if they added any solar panels on the car whatsoever, that would be adding some charge into the system. So I'm totally with you that way. But in an automobile, because you're also sensitive to weight, any weight of the solar panel could work against the amount that it's charging the car. In a home environment, you don't care the weight, right? So now what they're thinking with cars is inductive charging through the road, kind of like a streetcar running on an electric wire overhead, right? But the idea would be that you'd have a wire embedded in the asphalt of the road, which creates an inductive charge, and that as you drove the car down the highway, it would be able to charge from the road.
Yeah, we'll wait a long time from now.
Yeah, and it requires quite a bit of infrastructure, right? Because if we told you the electric car, this lane's only for electric cars, because it doesn't help my ATS-V to be running down the wire, and so and there's always a possibility of electrocuting people with charging involved and so on. But that's part of why we're going to see regular cars go to 42-volt systems so that they can go to all electric, electric steering. We're going to see the rest of the hydraulic systems go electric next. All electric.
I'm very much into the solar thing out here since I'm in Phoenix. It's like I was thrown into the solar thing.
Absolutely.
I
And
can't go back to New York to put solar panels on the house.
I've always said I want any system in which my car can refuel sitting in the garage.
Right.
So I don't care if it's a hydrogen system and the house generates hydrogen. It's an electric system, the house generates electricity. I want the car to refuel in the garage, preferably at no cost, of course.
I met some guys at Barrett Jackson who were doing stuff in the solar thing. And right here is my little solar flashlight, right? It's got a solar thing. It charges indoors with the light. And here's the cool part about it. It has a charging thing for
USB.
or my iPad.
Nice. And you didn't get your friend Bruce and your friend Air Mike one. That's the part I don't understand.
I bought this. I think it cost me $39.
Oh, I thought you got it at the show.
No, but it is super duper bright. So this is a mainstay in the car because it's always charging. You can leave it
Nice.
It's
And if you get lost in the desert, did you hear this story where the lady she was going from Tucson to Phoenix and got lost in the desert?
No.
Yeah, and she ended up taking sticks and branches and bones and spelling out help. And so they were able to, the aerial surveillance was able to find her. She wasn't right there where the sign was, but they found her nearby. They found her dog 2 days before they found her. But somehow, now, that's not wilderness there between Phoenix and Tucson, right?
There's a lot of straight desert.
Yeah, so somehow she got off on her own there.
Yeah. Well, there's the light thing. It's hybridlight.com, I think it is. Hybrid light. Yeah. So something to check out.
So we'll add that to the
yeah.
Vinny's endorsing hybridlight.com.
They have a nice bigger one too that you can hang on your car if you were working, underneath the hood. And I'm shocked I didn't buy that one. I'm sure next time I will.
Yeah, but Vinny, don't you want to wait until you get the sponsorship set up through your website, and then you can send us to a link for?
Good karma.
Yeah, cast your bread upon the water.
Right.
And I apologize. I still have a little cough, and so that I keep catching my breath because I've still got a cough, getting a cough out of my system. Go ahead, Mike.
So that thing has to be out where the light. I mean, you can't put it in the glove box or under the seat or something.
No, what I do is it sits in my door panel actually.
It gets enough light there, huh?
It gets enough light. Right now it's charging, and I can almost have it in the dark.
But the natural would be if it didn't melt to have it out on the dash somewhere, right?
Yeah, but that will hold a charge. If I put that out in the light for an hour, it'll hold a charge for like 3 weeks. So it's not really
wow.
It's back of mind to put that in the solar part.
Well, the part I really like is if you do end up stuck out somewhere, the thing you'd worry about with a flashlight is you run out of battery, and the fact that one would recharge, then you have another, you'd have it again the second night you're stuck somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure if I turn that on, and it'll probably last a week being on.
Yeah, so if you get lost in the desert between Phoenix and Tucson, then you'll have your flashlight.
Well, I'd be fine. On Thursday my iPad rings, so I would have contact with you guys.
Exactly. And you'd be able to send us your coordinates, and Air Mike could come rescue you.
Hey, Benny, give me that. Who made that again?
Hybrid Light.
Now, we'll add a link to this week's show post on the forum. But hybridlight.com, I will do that right now because I will forget.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can look it up while you guys talking.
The fact that you said they have a light for working on cars made me decide I have to look it up.
Well, there you go. Hybridlight.com. We're trying that right now, and it's connecting. Hybrid Light, it's bright. Outperform the daylight. Visit the shop. There you go. But there's no pictures of Vinny here. Oh, and they have the Puck expandable lantern charger. So yeah, hybridlight.com, the Journey 1600 flashlight charger.
I like it that you can charge the cell phones and all of that stuff. I met these guys twice at Barrett Jackson in Vegas, where I bought it, and then I met them again at Barrett Jackson here a month or so ago, or whenever Barrett Jackson was.
Well, great.
I just
So
ruined the lights.
Pardon?
I just ruined one of my lights today.
Oh,
It's a
no.
magnetic, and I drove off with it still hooked on, and I ran it over.
Yeah, the one that I was talking about with the working on the car would be called the Mammoth Multi-Light Charger. That's the one that I had.
Yeah, I see that one. The Mammoth multi-light charger.
That's the one that I actually seen.
Does that have a magnetic base?
I think it does, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the one I just showed you guys is the Esterada 80.
$70 for that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to get Vinny to buy us all one.
Right after I get Escalades, customized for everybody.
Your Escalade, the Escalade Vinny edition.
Let me go run out and buy lottery tickets right now.
Yeah, and I guess it'll be like AOL usernames, right? Where you won't be able to get the Escalade Vinny, you'll have to get the Escalade Vinny 72S.
Funny story about that. I was setting up a neighbor on the internet, and first time, this is about a year or 2 years ago, and he was mad that he couldn't get Ed at AOL.com, that it was already taken.
Darn.
Needless to say, I was crying for an hour.
If only he'd been there 25 years earlier. That was anyway. But yeah, it would be hard to be sympathetic. But any other Cadillac news you guys wanted to cover?
Not news, but something happened to me yesterday. I was out riding my bike, and I almost did like a Danny from Vegas, where he pulls people over. I was driving down, and the guy had his garage door open, and he was restoring a Cadillac.
Oh, nice.
60s. I ended up stopping, pulling over, and telling him, who I am and all of that stuff. And he's restoring a '68 convertible, and it was blue. It needed to be repainted. They were changing the engine because something was wrong with the engine, but he's going to rebuild the engine and give that to the people when they buy the car. This way they have the numbers matching engine for it.
Now, do you have the blog post up with the pictures and the coverage?
Not yet.
Oh, so this wasn't his car. He was working on it.
No, it was him and his son. His son actually owns the car. But
oh, good.
We had a great conversation about him talking about what colors they were going to paint it, and one of them wanted to make it pink and sell it as a Mary Kay car. I'm like, no, that doesn't work on a '68. So.
Okay, Vinny. Here's a 2007 original style SRX, 98,000 miles. They want $4,500 for it.
Where is it?
It's in Dallas.
Okay. I looked at the other one that you sent me, and I contacted the guy, and the guy's like, yeah, it has a slight oil leak. I replace a can of oil every 3 months. I'm like, that's enough for me to say no.
Yeah, you're done at that point, right?
Yeah, I'm done at that point. I'm even starting to look at Escalades now.
Yeah, I like the Escalade, but
my trip is basically done, but I'm gonna have to take all of this stuff back someday. So,
well, I'll do two things. I'm gonna put on the, open up the chat window. So, and you can do that, Vinny. Over on the left, there's icons where you can open up the chat window.
Okay, I see it.
And I'm going to put the link there. And for those of you playing at home, I'm going to add it to. I'm going to add it to our thread for this week's, our topic for this week's forum.
That's awfully cheap for 2007.
Yeah, so there's probably a story there, but that's what we're shopping for. So you can talk to him and see what you think.
One thing's for sure, if you turn down every cheap one just because something's probably wrong with it, you won't never get the real bargain.
I know. That's a little analysis by paralysis happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't buy that one, here's a 15 Escalade 4-wheel drive for $67,000.
67,000, yeah, nice.
Yeah, so
Take two.
It'd be one or the other.
You could trade it in on the $250,000 one here in a couple of years.
Yeah, I think that they will have some sort of trade-in package, right? On a $250,000 car. Now, what would the lease payment be? on a
Your
$250,000
your
Escalade.
your firstborn. I don't know what else you'd have to throw in.
So it'd be right at $3,000 a month or something, right?
Probably higher.
Which is still a good deal. Yeah, it's
Well, that XLR when it was brand new, you could get a 0%.
yes,
So I suppose they would
but
have
it's
a
still a
different.
lot of money because of the
Yeah.
$74,000 price. Then
Oh, I
even
was
at
talking
zero
about the
percent,
fee.
even at 0% for 60 months, then you're still, $1,250 a month or something. And so if you take that and multiply by 4, then you're right there at 5,000 a month, right?
Yes,
So it's
still a
that
lot of
part
money.
that now. Um, I'm sure, I am certain though that the people that they are marketing this for will just write a check or just put it on a credit card so that
Yeah.
they can get frequent flyer miles.
Well, the man who bought an XLRV here in town, he got 0%. Why not? It's the cheapest money he could get, and he just made the payment.
If you're buying a 2,500, $250,000 Escalade, you're not worried about airline miles because you have your own plane.
Oh, well, there you go. You're just getting the Escalade to go to the plane, right? Or as your local car, so that instead of driving back and forth New York to Phoenix, you'd have an Escalade in Phoenix and your SRX in New York, right? Or vice versa.
Oh, it would definitely the $250,000 car would be in Phoenix.
Yeah,
Oh,
which one is which there? Would you want your Escalade in New York and because of the isolation, or the Escalade in Phoenix?
Wait a minute. What do we even have an SRX for if we're doing all this? Why do we not have two Escalades?
Ah,
I mean, we've reached the
well,
point
that's
where money's no
duplicative.
object, right?
No, well, you need a station car at one end or the other, so you can pick up things from your private plane and drive them back to your new house.
that's loaded with solar panels.
But the Escalade can act as that, especially the extended length version of the Escalade. If you fold the seats down, it makes
Yeah.
a good station car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there, but would you want two Escalades?
Well, you just have to have a green one and a yellow one or whatever,
A white one for daytime, a black one for nighttime.
While you're picking among the 2,500 options for your Escalade 2250K, you just make some different selections down that list, right?
Right.
Maybe it's that the $250,000 Escalade offers 250 different optional configurations.
No wonder life's so tough for these people that have all the money. I never realized why it was so tough.
It doesn't have to be. I will volunteer to act as your personal assistant to select the correct Escalade 250.
Maybe
Okay,
it'll
well,
come with two other Escalades
And Vinny and I will deliver it anywhere in the country.
anywhere in the country.
Anywhere in the country. For all we request is travel home. Now, actually, if we're going together, we could just bring a car, right?
Well, we would also pay for it, so this way we'd have the airline miles to drive back.
Oh, well, there you go. We'll offer to pick up and pay for your car and deliver it to your house and accept your check.
I'll take two of them. I hope you don't expect my check to be any good.
I think that this could be another. See, I've been wondering because I'm fascinated with the new economy. The old economy, we tried to get the labor out of everything. The way to happiness was get the labor out and reduce the cost. In the new economy, the way to happiness is not by having employees at all, but just by, like Uber, they sell driver time, but they don't own the drivers. And so I think that this could be our Cadillac community contribution, is that we will offer to home delivery for custom Cadillacs.
Now, when this actually turns out to be a thing,
Yes.
you're going to have a job.
Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna end up with a job, but my job is going to be picking up custom Escalades at the factory in Arlington and either driving them to a new home or following Vinny or Air Mike in my ATSV so that I can drive them back from Phoenix to the factory in Arlington.
They might want them in Phoenix. There's some people with the money.
And I am okay with that because that's how I want to spend my day, is driving the Escalade 250K or driving my ATSV back and forth to the factory.
It's funny today. Mike said that there's money out here in Phoenix. I signed up for a real estate magazine, figuring I'll look to see maybe if there's something cheap. I'll get something here, as a summer, and I'll do with the bird, stuff. And I opened up the magazine, and the cheapest house was $1.5 million in the magazine. I was like, seriously? Yeah.
That's how you get in the magazine. You have to be at least $1.5 million. Right. Yeah, my wife and I are kind of looking for, small, inexpensive ranch type property, and she had sent me one property that was, I don't know, $2 million, but she said this one had the perfect yard landscaping. That's the yard landscaping she's looking for. But I didn't even open the ad. I said, we're not shopping for a $2 million ranch. Thank you very much. So, but I think I've almost talked myself out of it because I love the isolation and I would like the privacy, but I don't want the mowing.
Once again, you're giving yourself a job.
Yeah. You're buying a job, and I don't care for that. Now, is there a problem in my custom delivery plan? Because what they're going to want is the vehicle to arrive at their house with no miles on it.
But you're just going to have to unhook the odometer.
No, because we'll be working with the factory, so they won't want that. I think what we'll have to do is we'll have to follow the delivery driver so that we can give the delivery experience after the car arrives at their home.
There you go.
Now, one of the people at the dealership when I bought the ATSV, that's what he does for a living, is he's just the delivery specialist. All he does all day is he sits with you in your brand new Cadillac and explains to you how to link your phone to the Bluetooth, how to turn on the radio, how to push the button to start the car, and so on. That's his job for a living, is he's a delivery specialist. So what I'm thinking is we will be remote location delivery specialists. We will be in constant contact with the delivery truck, and when they deliver the new Escalade 250K to its home in any part of the country or overseas, we will arrive within 2 minutes to explain how to enjoy the new Escalade 250K.
We can have a big ribbon with a ribbon cutting ceremony, so
yes,
you can see what you have.
We will carry ribbons.
Maybe a little champagne.
Bows. Yes, but if they're going to be driving, you don't want champagne, right?
It's for your neighbors to celebrate.
Yeah, maybe Napa Valley grape juice.
There you go. Sparkling water.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to need a support truck, or we're just going to have to limit, we'll have to have a mini bar in the ATSV.
And I'll drive the Perrier truck.
Yeah, but if you're going to have to drive it hundreds of miles, I think we've bought you a job, right?
Exactly.
Because now you're driving a Perrier truck all day and then spending 3 minutes doing deliveries and then getting back in your Perrier truck to find the Motel 8 that we're staying at overnight so that we can get back to Arlington. So yeah, if they want it delivered by driving the Escalade, I'm all in for that. But if we're just going to meet the flatbed truck or the cargo container truck, then yeah, that's going to be tricky.
Get a special military helicopter to lift the Escalade and bring it to the house.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing Cadillac would have done. Old Cadillac would have done, right? Is you'd have these special 747s that land at your nearest airfield to deliver your Escalade 250. All we'd have to do is drive it from the airport to their home.
It would solve your odometer problem, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that will work. and what we would do is fly in, drive the Escalade 250K from the airport to their home, and then also a rental Cadillac, and then we'd go back to the airport, drop the Cadillac off, and head back to Arlington.
Once again, a lot of work.
Many hours on the road. But, just think how many of these happy stories you get to share where people are enjoying their Escalade 250K. So wouldn't that make it worthwhile, that witnessing the joy?
Witnessing the joy, yes.
I always said Cadillac's not using their Cadillac My Story enough. They kind of seem to retire that video with all the celebrities and stuff. They should be doing that with every person, that's excited that wants to be on. And
that's what I always actually enjoyed that. Porsche had an in-house magazine, Porsche Panorama, I think it was called, that they would send to, if you bought a new Porsche, you got a subscription to the magazine for 12 months. And the magazine would have articles like, here's Vinny. And Vinny, he travels to Phoenix sometimes, and he goes to New York, and he goes to auto shows, and he shoots video. And Vinny enjoys Cadillacs, and here's Vinny drives a, 1974 DeVille Coupe, and he selected that car because his mom had one when he was young, or whatever the reason. They would tell this whole that it was all about. This is a real person who really loves Cadillacs and drives Cadillacs, and that was the whole point of the article. There was no
right.
There's no other point, and I really enjoyed those. Just here's so-and-so Wolfgang, and he's a chef in Berlin and enjoys his 911.
I'm actually going to incorporate something like that to my website.
There you go. I think that's golden, and I would I enjoy reading stuff like that just for how are people enjoying their cars.
Mm-hmm. So, maybe post a little video or something like that,
Now the Hot Rod Power Tour is coming up in June. Some of my car friends were going in for the Hot Rod Power Tour, and so they were talking to me about that. And I have never been. Have you ever been on you guys ever been on the Hot Rod Power Tour?
No, and it went within 40 miles of us this last summer, and I didn't get in on it. I wish I'd have got. I had to work that day.
Yeah, and of course the way this works is they go for a week or 10 days, and basically you travel along with a caravan of other car lovers, car enthusiasts, and then they have car events at every stop. So they might have autocross, or they might have a racetrack event, or they might have. And so you see, here's a 1960s muscle car with a Miata or a Corvette in the same event, and then if your car stops for any reason during the tour, and it has to be trailered, you have to put a big sign on the car that says what's wrong with it. Because they don't want people to bring trailer queen cars to the Hot Rod Power Tour. They want the whole premise is that you're driving and enjoying your car. And so if your car breaks down, you have to put an embarrassing sign on it that says what went wrong with it. so that people know they. But what? Yeah, one of the guys on the Motorama call was doing Hot Rod Power Tour. They were doing one of the performance events in his first generation CTSV, and he accelerated the car hard enough that the airbags went off.
Really?
Yeah, and Unstar called him to see what happened with if he survived. So he had to get his airbags replaced as part of that whole thing. Is your keyboard not doing right?
I think it's fine when they make them people drive them cars. I don't know about the sign. That's probably, like you said, embarrassing. But I think it's fine when they have to. They should have have a penalty or something to make sure people don't have trailer queens there.
Well, you want the whole point of the events is for people to actually run their cars, and so I appreciate their enthusiasm that way, and I think they do have a tremendous sense of community. So if your car breaks down, everybody tries to help you get it running again.
I don't think you would
Right.
start with a trailer queen. You'd be too depression, you know.
Yes. Uh, the Texas Mile people started a new Arkansas Mile. I was interested to see that. That's another event I would enjoy participating in that I never have. But it's a fun. Basically, it's you sign up and it's a standing mile series of test runs, right? Where hundreds of people sign up and then you run your car in different classes. But it's just a standing start and then see how fast you can go over a 1 mile flat course.
I think cars don't go as fast as people think they will when they do that.
Absolutely. That you don't have time to get to terminal velocity. The fastest cars in those events go over 200 miles an hour. The fastest ones in this year's event, I think, went 260. But
And
those are 2,000, 3,000 horsepower cars
right.
that are custom built for that event. You know, a normal 556 horsepower CTSV stock, I think, would do 150 or 165 in a standing mile, something of that nature. And so when these cars are running 200 miles an hour in a standing mile, they are scooting along. They're highly modified cars.
Right. You know, drag week. Hot Rod has drag week where they have the cars have to drive 1,000-mile course that the hot rod people designate, and they can't use a trailer for anything. And I'm just more than astounded how fast them cars can go.
Huh?
They're well over 200 miles an hour in a quarter mile and drove 1,000 miles in the week while they're at it. One Cadillac, but it was a few years ago. XLR.
We're still getting a clicking sound. Vinny, are you getting your
No, that's not for me.
Mac straightened out, or Mike, are you flipping through all the websites you know?
No. I have the hybrid lights on here, but I failed to get on there yet. I saved them for later.
Yeah, no telling. Any other car news for this week, guys? I've kept you on an hour now.
No.
No car news here.
No car news.
Okay, any last advice for our viewers? So two closing questions for you. You're going to buy a new XT5. Would you like the 3.6 liter V6 or the 2 liter turbo?
Personally, probably the turbo.
Mike says the turbo. Vinny?
It depends on if it's all-wheel drive or not.
No, rear wheel drive.
The one that I was looking at the auto show, it was all-wheel drive.
Well, I apologize. They are not rear wheel drive. They can either be all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. But we'll give you a choice. Would you prefer all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive?
All-wheel.
Okay, so given an all-wheel drive XT5, would you prefer the V6 or the 2 liter turbo?
Toss up V6, I'll go.
Okay, so we have one 2 liter turbo, one 2 liter turbo, and one V6. Okay, now on your Escalade 250K, custom-made bespoke version, what's your final vote for the custom name? It's the Escalade Blank Edition for your custom bespoke Escalade. Vinny?
I'll have to stay with titanium.
The Escalade Titanium Edition by Vinny.
Golden titanium.
Oh, the Escalade Golden Titanium Edition by Vinny. CadillacCountryClub.com. Mike, what do you think? The Escalade Blank Edition.
My mind went blank. It was the old Cadillac name that we spoke of earlier.
Fleetwood or Brougham or
Fleetwood, yeah, Fleetwood. The Fleetwood.
The Escalade Fleetwood Edition. Escalade 250K Fleetwood Edition. Now,
Yes.
do you think that's crass if we put the price in the name?
If you're spending 250,000, why not?
Why not? Exactly. Why not?
Keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Yeah,
No.
staying ahead of the Joneses.
Yes. Ahead of the Joneses. Yes.
All right, thanks guys for being on. Stand by for just a moment, and I will stop the broadcast, and then we'll do the wrap up. Thank you for watching at home. We do these on Thursday nights, the CaddyInfo Cadillac Chat. We actually tune in a little bit before, but if you haven't ever done Google Hangouts and you want to learn and get your setup set up, then contact me in between shows, and we can try and set up a opportunity for you to practice so that you're comfortable. We actually log in. We do the show 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern Time, which would be 5:30 Pacific Time on Thursday nights. But we actually start a few minutes early to give everybody a chance to get rigged in and so on. Vinny had to try out his new MacBook this week, so
I just realized I didn't have headphones on.
all you got to do is buy a MacBook and plug it in, and you can be on the show. So hold on, guys.